Greetings, greetings. So, just a quick sharing in the garden, which is a great way to relax, spend some good quality time with you, experience some quiet, and also grow some things to eat. Which is always a simple, a simple goal. That was always part of the plan, was to just simply grow some food, right, and make use of the environment. So, in terms of the garden update, I'm growing some new things, and as usual, I'm always using recycled containers. So these are lots of old water bottles that I've already sprouted things in. I'm going to use again, as well as sticks, and I'm also using here old recycled bathroom tissue rolls. Right. So I'm going to be marking these things, and I'm going to be putting some things into the ground, into the dirt, so they can sprout and we can have some more vegetables and things to eat. So I have plenty of things here. I want to make sure that I'm marking them with the marker, with my marker. So if you're a beginning gardener and you haven't gone through a full season of something, you may not be familiar with some of the plants as they go through their different growing and sprouting process. So it could be very easy to pull certain things and think that they're a weed in the efforts to, being really excited and wanting to keep everything manicured. And there can be a tendency sometimes to mistakenly pull some of the baby plants and thinking that they're weeds and they're not. So it's a very good idea to mark things. And so I'm going to be sharing more about gardening and living foods, whatever labels you want to call yourself. Everyone can benefit from eating more fresh, whole living, fresh fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, and fresh spices, right? Plus, it's really pleasant and enjoyable. So I'm going to be planting some kale and some of these other things. So while we're out spending some quality time in the garden, so do keep in mind you want to mark what's on it, what you're putting inside of the dirt, and the date that you're putting it there, right? Because different plants have different rates at which they mature and grow all the way until they can be eaten, right? So I'm going to mark what I'm putting in here. This is curly. Yeah. So that's the good stuff. So now in terms of awareness, having an awareness of what's going on can really save you a lot of time and heartache. And fortunately, there is a lot of information to be had online. And even though there's information, you still want to be discerning of everyone that's putting information out. Not playing favorites to anybody's personality, because quite often when we become enamored or fall in love or in like with people's personality, that doesn't mean that we necessarily know people. So it's really important to see the patterns as best you can. You can't see everything from on a computer screen, right? You can't, it doesn't tell a full picture. Nasturtiums. And folks, manipulators know this. So having a good amount of awareness and cross-referencing people, keeping in mind you may or may not be able to get a character reference on someone online on the internet. So to come up with some kind of a litmus test to qualify somebody, you may not need to do it with everyone, but particularly if you're thinking of following a leader, a cult leader, definitely if you plan on going to live with them or to stay with them, you want to make sure that you're safe, right? Definitely young people, because we can like people so much that we don't ask questions, or particularly if the person is older, we may feel embarrassed about asking questions, or a manipulator can make us feel very uncomfortable with asking questions when it's common sense and protective of yourself to ask questions for somebody you don't know, who you really can vouch for their character. The long beans. Oh, I want my stuff to blow away. You can't vouch for people on the internet, so it makes sense. And this is definitely especially for young people, but not limited to young people. Because some of us may be chronologically older, but haven't been exposed to certain experiences or personalities. So a manipulator usually can pick right up on this. And then, also if you're not thinking like a manipulator, a lot of things can go right over your head. I'm gonna put some asparagus in the ground. A lot of things can go right over your head. Asparagus. Oh, I'd love to get some asparagus growing here. All right, so it's a good idea to, rather than merely just be entertained by all the information that's out there, to actually apply the information. Because some folks will look at it, this stuff, and when turn off the tube, the computer tube, still not apply it. Our defenses go down when there's someone that we like, or they're saying some things that we like. Greetings, greetings. So it's really important. We can throw a lot of terms around, and like discernment or spirituality or brothers and sisters, and people can interpret these words all different kinds of ways. But we really want to be able to apply discernment, and discernment means how to read something or someone, or read a situation, tell if somebody's telling you the truth, to tell if you're going to be in harm's way. And again, if you haven't been exposed to certain things, sometimes you just don't have any way of knowing, because people come to us usually telling us many of the things that we want to hear. Yeah, so let's see. I'm going to be planting some, I don't know if I have any more collard green seeds. My collards have done really, really, really well. And actually, I got to say, I was thinking the other day that we haven't had to buy any greens, and a lot of the greens aren't even necessarily as readily available or as fresh if they're coming from somewhere else. So mustard greens have done really, really well. All right, and I will tell you that everybody can grow something. And I'm saying that based on fact. You'll learn something. Sometimes we can feel like won't even make an effort to try to grow food because we feel like we can't do it because we're in a cold environment. That's why there are grow lights. You can work from where you are at. And sometimes not having confidence to speak up or to try things on your own and be willing to fail with has a negative connotation, draws up negative pictures, but it's feedback, it's information. You fail forward, you get feedback. Growing plants is a safe space to fail. There's no failure. You're learning something. So if you are a beginning gardener and you haven't grown something for a full season, it's not a bad thing if you're just not aware. So as the plant comes in and it goes through its different cycles, you're going to see and observe the plants going through their different cycles of growth, and see when the plant buds, when it flowers, if it bears fruit, if you take your time and allow it to go through like a full season. I tell you, the garden can teach you so much, and it's wonderful because it's free of folks' opinions. The fruits and vegetables are not trying to scam you. They respond to the nurturing that you put in, and it can definitely teach you a lot of common sense, believe it or not, in the garden. Regardless of what you wish, what you put in is what you get out. Sometimes you can put in a lot of goods, what you think are good seeds, and they don't all sprout, and it's not personal. So there's so many lessons to be had in the garden. I can recycle the stick. I'll recycle everything, right? So instead of constantly spending money on more, we can reuse things. This is like currency. So there's some simple things sometimes that are used to manipulate people. A lot of times it's our fears. that we won't be able to do something as simple as growing food. Or that we won't have friends to do things with. I really encourage folks to spend good quality time with yourself. You know, how we choose to spend our time says a lot. To be comfortable and not be so and it's understandable. Many of us are very greetings. Many of us are very, if we're honest, are desperate for sisters, desperate for friends. You know, and I learned where my little sticks at. I learned the hard way. Even folks who you think have so many, you know, you think you got 8 or 9 out of 10 things, qualities that you think you would want and people that you want to commune with or live with, that you just really don't know folks until you live with them. That is the truth. You don't know folks. And only you can decide what's workable and what's a deal breaker. You know, and it's very important, whatever age you are, to have some standards for yourself, you know, and not to bend on those things, or to put your being in put yourself in a space where you're uncomfortable on some key values or some key things that make your red flags go up, and start to rationalize or justify them because you want to fit in. Trying to fit in can make you very vulnerable to being manipulated. Sometimes we can have lots of fears for our children, which is understandable. Greetings. That's the key time. Most don't have time anymore. Well, all of us on this planet have the same. I don't know if this is buffering where the signal is. When the beginning of rainy season. So the nights it could be pouring down rain, and then the sun will come out for a while. So it's a good time to plant. But we have the time. You know what we do have? No matter what we've been through as a people, or in spite of everything we've been through, our current life is our responsibility. And so, like, for example, I could still fall down dead tomorrow eating all these living foods, but just making a decision to be responsible for my life, it puts you in a whole nother state. Me being responsible was, as much as I wanted to be around these folks and commune with them, would seem like an ideal community, when I saw things that didn't add up or that made me feel very, very uncomfortable. As much as my mind wanted to rationalize or justify in order to stay in a place, things were just very, very unsettling. So it was my responsibility to myself to leave, knowing that I would be leaving by myself, you know, and even perhaps maybe my family members staying behind. You know, of course, that's not ideal, but your life is your responsibility. And so in thinking of responsibility, and the sun is going to get hotter and hotter. Which creature is over here? I hear a creature, something moving. Sometimes big old iguanas be coming over here. But my time is my responsibility, how I want to use it. So I think I saw for many years, there's nothing wrong with movies and all the other stuff, but you know, I prefer to spend time outside to get some sunshine on my skin when the sun is up in the middle of the day. So everything is a trade-off. The States is a trade-off. Being in another country is a trade-off. And, you know, so only you can decide what are the things that you're willing to trade off, or to be without, in order to have something greater that's greater for you. Some people may decide that they'd rather have somebody control their life and their thinking, because it, you know, kind of like many people use weed, not making it wrong, to relax, you know. So the priority for some people is to to zone out from the pain or the discomfort. But ultimately, it's our responsibility to remove ourselves out of harm's way, or to leave a situation where we don't feel comfortable. When you are in a space where you're isolated, or if you're in a space in a sense of a cult, there are many things that you cannot see from the outside. This could even be in relationships, right? Some of us might be in the cult of one. But there are many things that maybe after the initial phase where you don't know people, when folks get comfortable and you start seeing people's real characteristics, in particular with the cult that you hadn't bargained for. There's a lot that you see you haven't bargained for, but when you're in very deep, and by the time you've invested time, money, resources, or even if you've become emotionally bonded to folks, some of us are not willing, become comfortable and not willing to walk away. But that ultimately is each of our responsibility is to use the time that we do have. So I make an effort to understand folks' different perspective. So I could say that many things I don't have time for. I could say that, I'm a person that will get up at 2, 3, or 4 to get things done. Like, the garden can be very time sensitive. This hot sun is about to roast my baby greens and my okra. And then exercise, I could say that I don't have time. But I have definitely found the most satisfaction and peace and personal integrity when I have traded off and really looked at what I'm spending my time and my resources and my energy on, and to create time for things. And quite often, sometimes that can be challenging. But once you get into a rhythm, there become other things you don't have time for because you only have time for your priorities. It's like my godmother used to say, she said, my broke ain't your broke. You're broke and you ain't got nothing, but I'm broke. I got a house that I'm living in, So I would say certain things I don't have time for, but what I do make time for and prioritize is some kind of time to put my hands in the garden. It's not some things I have to do every day. But I make time for it because it makes me feel better. And I did this in New York, so this is a habit now. So I don't have to keep making the decision again over and over. Look at that little spider. Little spider. Ooh. I don't have to keep making that decision to make that decision to start this again, or to eat healthy, or to wear my hair in a way that celebrates me. These are things, actually I free up my time because I chose not to put no products in my hair, even oil. So only we can determine how we want to use our time. The first cult we joined, the family that we were born into. Well, I would say, it's so easy. I think particularly in particular, maybe it's not just us, but I could say as a Afro person that I don't know if I want to say gullible we are so prone to being manipulated with or being steered by semantics. One word can have so many meanings, and the meanings could change. Like the Igane word, or the nigger word, that can be loaded depending on who's using the word, the context they're using it for. The word cult, actually, that's how many people get manipulated into cults or brainwashed. And you'll hear people say, "Oh, I'm glad my brain is washed," or whatever. So it depends on the context. I would definitely make a big distinction between my family, and I can discern between my family and being in a cult where there's no transparent. There's a difference. And I think it's easy for us to be trapped with words. It's definitely, I would say, and I'm big into peeping the patterns. Awareness is that one of the techniques that is used by cults is to get us caught up in words and painting pictures and triggering fears and insecurities with words. So, yeah, my family is my family. I make an effort to not allow myself to be disempowered by words or what I was born into, because I could choose at any point to not be and pretend that certain things didn't happen, but to not allow my life to be determined by the narrative. Like I say, a period of my life spent in the quote unquote ghetto. There are many cut and clear experiences from that, but that's a chapter in my life. That's not all of who I am. All of who I am is not my hair. All of who I am is not fruits and vegetables and what I'm eating. As I found out the hard way, somebody eating raw fruits and vegetables with red, gold, and green on doesn't mean that all the time a nice person or a fully, a honest person or transparent. So I make an effort not to get caught in words, because we could get so caught up in words and being so esoteric and playing with words that we get even more confused. If I turn out all the volume and all the words, I'm looking at behavior and behavior only, regardless of what you say, who you say you follow, whatever your color is. I'm looking at the behavior and the behavior long term and the consistency. I also understand I definitely can't know somebody through the internet. You can't fully know me through the internet. You got to see what how do you tell who it is that you're talking to and you're dealing with? To a certain degree, you can only but know but so much. So, I don't know. I don't have all the answers for anyone. I could just share some of the simple common sense. The simpler I keep things, the better. But being caught up in all of those words will be just paralyzed and not be able to make any clear cut decisions, not to move forward because it can be confusing. Just get ourselves even more confused. What are these sticks? Look at that. Before I blow it off. You see that bug? It's camouflage. It looks just like a leaf. And that one has a lot of bugs out here because they are part of the garden. They're definitely part of the garden. So I want to plant some marigolds. I have some cress and spinach. Some more parsley. Oh, I definitely need to plant some more tomatoes. These I think can go directly. I think I have some tomatoes open already. Here goes some collards. If there's any seeds in here, yes. Oh my gosh. These collards have been feeding me for months. Literally months. Months. So now I have some kind of awareness of collards, and I don't see them seeding. And the interesting thing is I've cut so much. Now I jump into the plants. I cut so much off these collards and shared them with so many people, and it's still producing. The bugs have eaten some because I don't use any sprays, and I've had more than enough to share. So I could read, but now I have a certain level of awareness due to experience. So because people have encountered cults, it doesn't necessarily make them stupid. Stupidity is not necessarily ignorance. Ignorance could be sometimes you're just unaware, or you're not familiar. You're not familiar with certain things. So, but it's not all the time that we have to suffer to learn. Sometimes at least you can learn something from the experiences of others. I'm gonna plant some tomatoes. Definitely some more collards. You cannot have too much collard green. That's a staple. And I will recycle everything. So I need some more pots. And I'm planting bags. I'll plant in everything. I got some other backup bags over here. And I have some more sticks. Let's see how many more sticks I got. I'm going to use all kinds of old containers. So hopefully everyone has their thinking cap on. Right? So we can take some of this information. See, is there anything that we can apply? Is there anything in the simplest way that we can apply? So we're just not caught up in being entertained. And then there's just nothing, nothing tangible. Nothing comes from watching all of this stuff on YouTube. At least hopefully we can have some pretty tomatoes. Do you think that plant life can communicate with us? Many people who take mushrooms, psychedelic shrooms, say that they have whole conversations with the plant kingdom. I'll be honest with you. See, again, great example of context. I think that plants and food talk to you, but now here's my context of food talks to you. Here's a great example. I'm somebody that loves fresh coconut cream. I like my food fresh. And so if any of you folks are Caribbean or been to a Caribbean market, or you got friends at the Caribbean, and you go and you see the squares, these bars of coconut cream, and they're usually like in a container and they're sitting out, they're not refrigerated. I've seen them, if you think of the company Grace that makes hot sauce and stuff. And if you look at the back of the package, the only ingredient is coconut cream, right? And it's sitting out and it's not refrigerated, right? So as someone that makes coconut cream, I have my grandma's grinder and I make it fresh. Food tastes totally different when everything is fresh. And I know in this heat, or even in the States, if you have hot spots in your food prep area or your kitchen, if I leave that coconut cream out, it's going to spoil. So my eye is peeled. How come the food is behaving like that? If the only ingredient is coconut cream, then how come it's not spoiling? So that tells me right there that they've done something or processed the coconut cream in such a way that is behaving differently. So in that sense, my context of communication, that is a communication to me observing how the food or the plants are behaving. No, I haven't heard plants talk to me in that sense, but for me, in a just a practical sense, the communication is, for example, I can tell that the tomatoes don't need as much water. I can see that my aloe plants, I had like maybe from a little piece of aloe grown maybe about over 30 plants. But I was going to put them in new pots. Um, but I noticed the area I had them in the sun, it just looked like they were dying and they were dying. I had a bunch of the same batch of aloe sitting in another area of shade that are flourishing and they're not in the dirt anymore. And they're just alive. So after watching and watching, here's the communication in a practical sense. I don't think they like sun like that. So I moved all of these little plants that I had put in new pots underneath the shade and I watch all of them coming back. So in a practical sense, that to me is a communication. So I'm not a person for me personally to get high. I don't smoke or drink or weed. Not down to anybody that does. From my life experience, I've watched um, I've watched weed be the gateway to drugs, as many of my close family members were introduced to it by sometimes older family members. Maybe weed. I know it sounds corny, like those old after-school specials, but that was a gateway for many of them. I don't think most people, in my humble observation, I can't speak for other people. Most people are not taking it for necessarily physical pain, but people are taking it to super duper relax to the point of um, not dealing, a way to not think so much and medicate themselves. So um, that communication is enough for me in terms of relaxing with the plants. The plants give you information, but no, I haven't had any cold conversations with plants. And actually, it doesn't appeal to me the idea of not being fully cognizant or in control of my motor skills or the potential damage to my brain. Once something becomes popular, like agave or stevia, or something becomes popular and sold in the marketplace, I don't trust the intentions of people. Just like I just don't trust when something becomes mass available for profit, what's going to be done to it. So, um, mushrooms and things like that, I really don't see the purpose for it. I'd rather just eat. That's more pleasurable to me. So I'm not really drawn to that. So in communication, that's the context. I'm coming from communication. I've never had a conversation with plants. Now I will sometimes, just in terms of put some good vibrations out and say, yeah, good morning or whatever. And for folks that like to get into the etymology of words, morning is anti-meridian where the sun is placed in the sky. I know people like say, don't say good morning, or let's we drive ourselves crazy with the words. But morning, MOURNING, in a state of sadness or mourning someone's death or catastrophe is not the same as MORNING, which is anti-meridian, like this prime meridian, anti-meridian. But anyway, no, I haven't had any conversations with plants, but I do. The communication is just, I feel like it's natural. It's very natural. Sometimes it's like we've taken things that are so natural and we become so mechanical with things. So that's just my perspective. Greetings, greetings. Yeah. So yeah, if they're having whole conversations with the plants, I can't tell people if they're not seeing Martians or if they're seeing uh, ghosts or spooks or other things. I can't say that they're not. I'm not one to call somebody a liar or call somebody, or like to misquote people, but that hasn't been in my experience. I'm just basic and I'm okay with it. So my communication is I nurture the plants, I give it water. I can see if the plant needs too much water or if it's had too much sunshine, or I'm listening to my body because I'm in 3D. I know there are other dimensions and we'll be somewhere and we lay down this quote called the body. But right now I'm prioritizing this particular phase I am on this planet, my health, um, the health of my brain, my lungs. I want to be fully awake and fully present without the need or addiction to stimulants, if that makes sense. So yeah, I enjoy fruits and vegetables. That's good enough for me. It's simple. The idea of being manipulated or even having to pay somebody for me to relax with something that's a chemical or a drug, it just doesn't appeal to me. I've watched many people in my community their whole lives be destroyed by drugs and alcohol. So it doesn't the smell, it does not turn me on at all. You know, um, I don't even understand. If many of our folks are going to do it, why we wouldn't seek to find out. Not do it in a way that's been done before. I mean, it's television cameras anywhere. Wouldn't we think in terms of honorable economics to study ways, just like they have, to make it honorable and profitable. Like if it was CBD oil or oil for pain or whatever, or really is everybody just trying to really just want to get high, and that's people's right to do whatever they want to. Um, but I can't say what other people's experiences are. I'm very simple. I can get high off of ouch ants, off of dancing, dancing, planting, good sleep. That's good enough for me. You know, just the idea. I see too many people, alcoholics, and don't get it twisted. In different parts of the world, you can get drugs very, very cheaply. I've seen documentaries in Africa. You think New York, the Molly, and all these other. I don't even know the name of these drugs, but it never ceases to amaze me how many cheap drugs are accessible. And this economy is not the same economy as the states. And I've seen lots of people like pissy drunk and high. There's many beautiful things, but I've learned it's, you know, there's stuff, there's Babylon, there's human beings with all kind of behavior, you know, all over the planet, all over the planet. So we can have a tendency to romanticize stuff. I think we can even romanticize getting high. You know, when I was a young woman, I think my 16th birthday, you know, I tried weed with my twin, and I was like, this is a waste of money. My $5 back then, this was many years ago, 16. I was thinking I could have got some Chinese food or had something to eat. So it never appealed to me. I was like, I don't get it. So I've never been high and drunk. Food is another story. I prefer the food. I just don't get it. And just the idea of like somebody shaking like Tina Turner on top of the table and carrying on and can't remember what happens the next day. That has zero appeal for me. In addition, um, the aging of people's cheeks being sunken in, or working in the fitness industry, watching most people can't lose a gut when they drink alcohol. Um, Watching folks that I've known have been somewhat close to me back in the day and the years, seeming very lethargic and not having a lot of drive. It seemed like their drive was sabotaged through doing a lot of weed. They just seem overly cooled out. It just doesn't have an appeal to me. I like the feeling of, let's say, fitness where I feel energized, like I could go and go and I feel alive and alert. So that's preferable to me. Everybody got to do what works for them. So this is working for me now. I'm just deciding what I want to plant. And there are definitely some sugar snap peas over here that I want to plant. So I do have a trellis. So again, I cut off some fencing. So I wouldn't say I'm the biggest builder, but I'm pretty creative. I think I have a decent aesthetic. But I've taken a yard piece of long trellis, and I've transferred a lot of the things from the bags that I've been growing, because I've gotten a lot of kale and greens out of growing in bags. So everybody can grow something. And so I've transferred those things to tires, and then I've taken the top of the tire. Some people take the tire and turn it inside out to make like a little flower on the top, but I've just cut the top of the tire out, and that's given me a lot more surface area to plant. 100% vegan. Um, yes, I'm 100% vegan. I'm 100. I don't care for the label. So yes, in terms of a behavior, I don't consume animals. But there's a point in my life when I did. As a child, I grew up eating meat. Then after high school, I stopped. You know, it wasn't really in style back then, but I had a mentor. Or eventually, I found a mentor. You know what I would say? What really drove me towards eating food that's cruelty free, I think, is more. I mean, not even fish. No, but I used to eat fish, and I'm also trained as a chef. I'm a big eater. I had came up with 2 different flavored pig feet, Bijan and Southern. So I like to eat, and the women in my family cook. However, from a young child, there's a lot of obesity in my family. I can make the connections between um, overeating and medicating, especially as women with food, when we're stressed out. And then also, as somebody that loves to research and seeing what's in the food. Now, I don't think everything is going to be 100% clean and pure. I get that. But I used to eat fish. So That's many years ago. I would say as a living foodist, it's got to be over 10 years. But I was vegan out of high school for years, and I'd been training people physical fitness as a personal trainer for about almost 10 years at one particular gym. And during that bout, somebody who I really respected, she started eating chicken and fish. My son's dad had started eating fish again and feeding it to my son. Initially, I was very upset, but I saw how much muscle and how good her body looked, and being it wasn't very popular and nobody around me was interested in all the, you know, natural lifestyle. I felt very alone back then when I was doing it. So I decided to start eating chicken and fish, and then eventually turkey for fitness competitions. So after competing in fitness, get some trophies and stuff like that. Inherently, I didn't like the idea of, I felt like I was stuffing myself with meat. And there was once I had a coach that asked me if I would mind trying red meat. So I would never went back to eating red meat. But this one time I tried it. And just after that, I was like, I don't want to do it. And I felt like, am I going to get emaciated if I stop eating meat? And it never happened. It never happened. Plus, if you do the research, um, you can easily get, if you take your time and you take the time to learn and not just follow people, anybody. It could be this person, or I think Dr. Sebi and other people. I wasn't a follower of Dr. Sebi. I really respected his critical thinking, but I don't know if anybody would really want us, the elder would want us to just be a follower. I think we should use our common sense. So no, I don't care for fish. As somebody that's worked with a lot of even in culinary school. In culinary school, there were all kind of animals that I had to deal with, but and I didn't mind learning. I just don't. The idea of the guts and the eyeballs, it just doesn't appeal to me. So it's not just about being vegan. I'm very sensitive to violence and seeing a lot of violence and people's lives destroyed by drugs and alcohol. Just the idea, and maybe this is just my own little perspective. I just think about us as a people, as the Afro people in the diaspora, how much suffering we've received in violence and exploitation. So I feel very sensitive to holding animals or killing them for appetites. So no, I don't consume any fish. But years ago, I did. So I'm not here to condemn. And it's dust in the air over here. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I don't get off on it's not gonna do me any good. What do I get out of really condemning people for eating whatever it is they're eating? I'm just more sensitive to the cruelty and the insensitive, being insensitive, or what's the word? This word, not jaded, but it's like a lack of sensitivity we have to violence on other creatures, and we justify it. We don't want it to happen to us. We didn't like that. We see the results as a solarized people. So just when I reason with inflicting something on somebody else that has babies and breastfeeds, just the eyeballs and the guts, it doesn't appeal to me. So more so cruelty free, and being cruelty free to my own body. I've seen actually high end fish in a restaurant that has had worms. And this I have seen with my own eyes. I have seen the filth that is coming in a lot of the animals and the parasites. So it doesn't appeal to me. So more than the label of vegan, which I think we can have a tendency to ego trip about, is the cruelty or just eating anything. I want to eat foods that I enjoy, where I'm not dieting, that are ideal for my body, and I have been open to what that experiment looks like. When desensitized, I think that's the word, but there's another word that I was looking for. It's a word like it's desensitized, but it's also I stopped eating meat. Weight just dropping off. I'm not fat. I'm 6'2", 220, now I'm 210. And yet, the body has, I don't know, I feel very intuitive when it comes to food and things. It's my personal experience, so I can just share. The body has an intelligence, and it will fall to a weight. A lot of times we try to control the number. It will fall to a healthy or reach or stabilize at a healthy weight when we just stop putting junk into it, and not at a taste level, not just at a taste level. If we were to just stop and look at, like, do I go to the bathroom? It's like when people start eating more living foods and fresh foods, your elimination shifts. So that's the communication that I found with fruits and vegetables and with plants. Do you feel more relaxed, or do you feel like insensitive to the life of another creature. So I feel more sensitive, but I don't think like, people are want to kill other people for abortion rights, or you're trying protecting the whales, but you want to kill other people. Like that doesn't make sense to me. So I feel very sensitive, and I have a respect for other people's lives and the lives of creatures. I see sometimes people treat their pets, you know, um, because they don't want to deal with human beings and put a lot of stuff off on their pets. So in general, it doesn't appeal to me. So technically, yes, you can say that would be vegan, but I'm more concerned with cruelty free and being just respectful of other um, people and other creatures. I think it's more relaxing. I think it's more relaxing, but desensitized. Yeah, so yeah, I think I've had so many different stints of being vegan over the years. Excuse me. So I would say I'm into the results. So I'm not gonna just go by somebody just because they're elder, just because it's a Sebi, or just because it's my mentor. I'm someone that's done a lot of experimentation. So I can say I was my heaviest weight as a vegan vegetarian years ago. But if I look back and now in terms of discernment life experience, I was eating a lot of health junk, and that was very pricey. So those are things that I've experienced on my own, the back and the forth for this many years. So when I get a certain level of result and I get to a space where I don't have to worry about that anymore, I can move on to something else. So I don't worry about diet. I found something I can live with. I'm into prevention, but I really I love my food. I enjoy, so I'm not dieting, and I have lots of versatility. I can eat wherever you drop me on the planet very expensively. I can make the food look very beautiful. So that's a skill that's cultivated, and I enjoy it. So I don't have to worry about that. So what's the purpose of animals like cows or pigs? I don't know. I can't say what that is for you. You'll have to determine that. What's the purpose? I think that the animals are living their life, but I can't. I'm not here to get into everybody's mind. That's too much. It's too much up here. So I don't know. What do you think? It's the purpose for animals. They're out here living their life, just like me. And they cry and they have their own intelligence. So I'm not interested in eating anything that's crying, but I can't tell what folks what to do. You got to do, what floats your boat. And I do have some turmeric over here. This is sprouting. So I'm going to put this back into the ground, and I've also replanted ginger like this also. So again, in terms of awareness, the garden can give you a lot of awareness on things just when you see how the food communicates or behaves. That's, I would say, the language. I haven't heard the turmeric say anything, but it's communicating it. It'll show you when it's an environment where it can grow and it can flourish. Inside of a lot of times where the environment was beautiful, the environment and the nature was beautiful, but the absolute suffocation and the amount of control. After a while, I couldn't deny it. I was like, this is no bueno. It just felt like it's like a suffocation. And I could understand where this man was supposedly coming from, but there were just certain things in terms of behaviors I just could not ignore. So I can't say what folks are, what other people's reasoning are. You'll have to determine that for yourself. You'll have to take your awareness and your experience, because your life is your responsibility. If I decide not to take a shot or not to eat animals or whatever, that's my responsibility. And I will live. I'm okay with whatever comes from my choices of not, whether I take B12 or not take B12, or research to find out how I can get B12 into my system. And keep in mind that many people that eat meat have a B12 deficiency. So I'm not with following any camp or having allegiance to any camp. I'm crystal clear. I don't know everything. I'm intelligent enough to know I don't have to know everything, but just to follow, jumping from one camp to another, one person to another, that doesn't work. That's exhausting. Debating with folks, I can't say. Folks will have to find way on their own. I can just share my little simple experience, and perhaps a young person or somebody else could maybe get some value, perhaps, out of what I'm sharing in the garden, and how I recycle spoons and sticks. That's how I spend my time. Someone was asking me the other day when I was out by the ocean down south. What do I do for fun? So I don't know if I would just say fun, but I mean, certain things that learning about plants is exciting to me. Dance is exciting. Playing in my hair every now and then is exciting. But having to be in a salon, that's not exciting. Thinking of going to buy bigger size clothes, that's not exciting. Going back and forth with people debating, that's not exciting. It's not fun. So I'll take this. This is relaxing. So there are a lot of things I choose not to do. So so that I could live like this. You know, so everything is trade-offs. Any thoughts on black seed oil? I've heard of black seed oil. I think I bought some once and I tried it, but I have this thing with looking for the whole fresh seeds. So I think I researched. It's been a while. I've noticed the black seed looks very similar to the onion seed and Nigella, a seed called Nigella seed. So if I can consume the seed or grind the seed or use that, that's always preferable because I know that the oils are very sensitive. And I used to sell olive oil years ago, expensive gourmet olive oil. The properties inside the oil are very sensitive to heat and light. So once, just like an apple, and oxidizes, a lot of the properties of the oil oxidizes. So um, I remember there's one point where I had all these expensive supplements and years ago in this particular phase, it's I don't know, 10, 11 years going on Living Foods. I just dumped all of those supplements down the drain because I felt like just like with the hair, I'm just not being interested in being a slave to products and supplements. It's overwhelming. It's like having too much. It's only 365 days in a year, and just having so much clothes and so much stuff. It feels like a prison of stuff. I feel inherently that most of the nutrition can be had from just eating fresh food. So yeah, it's just simple. Just eat the food, chew it well. If you don't have a juicer, you know, masticate with the teeth that are in your mouth. You know, I think sometimes I've always felt inherently, especially when I think of my grandma Lou, who was here till 94, between 94 and 97 years, that she was very simple. She didn't have Eckhart Tolle, she didn't have yoga classes, she didn't have self-help. She was just a very simple, most pleasant human being I have ever met. Most pleasant, not a complainer. She didn't have a whole lot of medical benefits. She worked like an ant for years to build a little house for her family. And she didn't have all this stuff. I don't think she over intellectualized things. She was always busy and doing something, never had space to complain. She rocked her cornrows. I never saw her with a stitch of makeup. She was very comfortable in her own skin. And I could say, I wonder, like, how come other people are angry? They're not like Grandma Lou. And yeah, I think it was just her simplicity of her lifestyle. I think she was a very, very wealthy in that sense. So, um, yeah, she worked and she saved and she went back to her island and she had other people that she looked out for. You know, that doesn't cost money. They send a plate of food back and forth to each other. She chopped up seasoning, all the spices and the things that she told me about. I'm consuming now, the bush tea and the aloe and the hot pepper. That doesn't cost much. I was doing that in the States. But just her simplicity, she always had a plate for people. I think these are things that many people may be yearning. And so that's what can make cults or religions attractive to people. So you can live however you want to live, but are you willing to go with the trade-offs? Are you willing to cultivate and go after what you want? Because you know, sometimes it's not just buying more supplements, it's what you choose not to do. I think we focus so much on spending money on all these supplements and we don't, let's say we could be eating healthy and all these living foods, but we stay in relationships that are toxic or we have self-sabotaging behaviors. You know, that stuff is actually is, to me, it's more expensive. You know, it's like eating potato chips seems like it's cheap, but it's a bag full of nothing that stimulates your appetite to want more and more. So I was like, wow, what a moneymaker. What a moneymaker. So you can live however. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. I made efforts to live a good, simple life and do away with a lot of things for years, you know, and extra bills and I don't know. I don't think I ever paid for cable. I never paid for cable. Was downsizing for years. So I think everything is a trade-off. What can you live with and what there are many things that I'm just not willing to do for money. Money has a purpose. Honorable economics has a purpose. You know, it's real, but there are many things I'm not willing to do for money, or things I'm not willing to subject myself to. So that's just me. Everybody will have to decide what that is for them. And the people you have steward over that are in your care, maybe the children that are in your care. So there's something in the air that is in my throat. So I have a lot of these little bags down here that I'm going to plant in. And a lot of things I'm always pulling that will look like, again, like pretty plants. This other little one here. Like this one. You think it's going to grow into a flower, but it's actually a weed that will suck up all the nutrients in your plants. So again, that's why I'm going to be using these to be starting a lot of the flowers, to see them go through a full season of growth. So I'm going to go get some more of these in the ground. This over here will go all over the place. And I only first came in contact with fresh cerasee and come into a warmer climate. This we see all over the states in the Caribbean or the West Indian markets. It has a very distinct taste and scent. It's like it grows all over the place for nothing. And you know how much we're paying for this? So that, you know, you can buy wheatgrass. You don't have access to wheatgrass. You know, you can use the things that grow around you. Even in the States, Mother Nature is always going to give us something, some kind of plant or herb or fruit. In the colder climates, we have more of the root vegetables and the sweet potatoes and the apples and the stone fruit. You know, so each environment is going to give you some kind of medicine or some kind of plant. If it's on your radar and you're looking for it, you'll find it. You'll find something. So I'm going to get back. I'm out here sweating. I'm going to get some more things in the ground. I've got dust that I was just raking up some stuff, and I'm going to go put some shade cover on some of the plants, because some of the little babies, this sun will just roast and fry them and all the life out of them. So again, that's a communication, learning like these babies, they're not strong enough to take the full sun. And but this big oregano bush is huge. We've trimmed it like numerous times, but it can take the full sun. So that, you know, is a communication. So to keep you out of harm's way, and so that you can flourish and you can grow. So that's all my sharing for today. I hope everybody's staying safe, keeping their thinking caps on. Everybody can grow something. I do post other things that I'm growing, like the progress of the pineapple, the collards, and the lacinato kale is still going strong. Hot peppers are going strong. Take some trees several years before they fruit. Plenty of purslane growing. I got lemon basil going here. Lots of okra and okra flowers. Actually, I'm going to pick an okra flower so you can see it. They're really pretty. So I've got okra growing all over the place. So this is one of the okra flowers. And you also got to be careful of little bugaboos, because bugs are always going to take their share as well. So I'd love to put that in the dish. And I've got a few zucchini that are coming up that have some beautiful flowers. I used to work at a really nice restaurant, and they used to stuff the zucchini blossom flowers with different things. They stuff it with meat, so I wouldn't stuff it with any animals. But there are other different kinds of concoctions with the vegetables that we can use to fill the vegetables with. So, you know, you can have a really beautiful experience when you're eating your food. There's okra, and the okra seeds do really well. When some of them are, I don't have one here, but when they're really dry, I see some right here. I'm going to pick one so I can show you. But when they're really woody and dry, these fibrous parts, it's got, I'll open this one so you can see. And these grow really, oops. These grow really easy. So That's why I keep these recycled containers. See, so these are the okra seeds right here. And these are nice and fresh. So I can put these right back into the ground. See, now that that to me is amazing. That is exciting that I just open up this okra, which most people probably toss in the garbage. And it's got loads of seeds in it. I can put it back in the ground and this will give me okra all over again. And in terms of the food talking to you, right? And the plants talking to you, the okra for some of the other plants that are much shorter that can't take the sun. So that's a communication to me. Like that awareness allows you to move differently from life experience, right? It's one thing to read it in a book, and it's another thing to apply what you know, right? Because not all plants and everything are near me. Do I have access to everything? But I do have access to okra, and I can plant this, and tomatoes and cucumbers. So what do I have to lose by putting them into the ground? I have some cucumber seeds that are sitting over here from cucumbers that I ate, and I have this thing with putting anything that I eat into the ground, and as just firsthand information. You know, the plants will show me if they have too much water or too much heat. They'll give you like immediate feedback. So in life and with people, it's good to use, it's beneficial to use what we've learned in our awareness and to apply it, you know, to use it. That's common sense and discernment. It's something that can be cultivated. This when we don't pretend that we're not seeing what we're seeing and make all kinds of rationalizations and justifications for what we see that we know is off and not addressing it. That's our responsibility to ourselves. So it's nice and roasty, toasty, and hot out here. Just wanted to come on and just do a quick share with folks. There's some of the things that are going in the garden. Even a small garden is a lot of work, but it's very satisfying. I had these huge bags. I don't know if they're 50 pounds that I was having to drag. Someone said they would help me do it, a neighbor, but I needed to get done now. And I know if my grandma Lou needed to get done, I bet you she would get it done. So that's fitness also. I mean, those about 50-pound bags. And that's been numerous times where I just have to stop and breathe and just drag it. And it's good for me to know I can get those things done. It doesn't make me less feminine. It makes me more feminine that I can get things get things done. You know, again, just fall into all this. Oh my gosh, look at this butterfly. Oh my gosh, it looks like a float at the Caribbean Day Carnival. Oh my gosh. Wow. See, that's the communication. So I hope you all take real good care of yourselves. Keep your thinking caps on. Don't pretend that you're not seeing what you're not seeing. It is very healthy and loving to move out of harm's way and to not subject ourselves to any kind of abusive behavior, right? Because we show people how to treat us. Some of these beautiful butterflies, they'll be laying some caterpillars that are eating my greens up. So, and in addition, I noticed the more greens I have growing, it's these little mini iguanas that look like prehistoric miniature dinosaurs, you know, running with their little funny feet. But they would tear some holes. They would tear up your greens. They would tear up your greens. All right, folks. So create a great day. Take good care.